All right, welcome. Go ahead and get yourself comfy. We're gonna need a strap or strap-like substance today. And that should probably be it. Your body, willingness. So go ahead and get comfy. Sit up nice and tall. Feel the shoulders melt away from your ears. And take a couple slow breaths in through the nose, out through either the nose or the mouth. Doesn't matter, but just slow. Take a second to notice a couple places, just like 2 or 3, that are fatigued or sore, injured, heavy. It's a place that you want to create some change. And we'll just take like an imaginary highlighter and highlight that area. Just setting the intention for healing and release to come into that space. And as we take a breath, we inhale positive energy, chi, into that space, those spaces. And as we exhale, we release anything that's stuck or stagnant there. And we've set the intention that that happens with every breath into those places. And then we can let it go. We'll start off today with a little bit of movement for our hips. So you want to set yourself up. So we're going to be kind of making a 180-degree movement here. So make sure you've got plenty of space. But your right leg is going to be in front of you, your shin lined up with the center of your chest. And your left knee is just going to be to the outside of that right foot. And the kind of end range of motion here is going to be a full forward fold over that right knee. And then we'll bring ourselves up. We'll keep our feet where they are. We just pivot and rotate, and we end up in the same position, opposite side. We bend all the way over that left knee. So just with your breath, rotating between these two positions. And if this feels relatively easy, you can start to take the twist further. So you actually go past the knee and start to get into the side body. Maybe even adding a thread the needle kind of action here. You want to even yourself out, so one more on each side. We come back to where we first started. So looking at that right shin knee. And now we're going to just lean straight back. So we've got a strong internal rotation in the left leg. We lean back into our hands, tuck the tailbone, and now getting a nice stretch through that whole left quad. And if you're searching for a deeper aspect of this pose, you can always stand your right foot up and kind of push that left hip down a little bit more. Sitting yourself back up, placing that right leg if you lifted it up, and we rotate around to the other side. Same thing on this side. Now we tip back, tuck the tail, pulling that right hip down. Again, if you need it, you can always plant the left foot and then use that to press the right hip down a little bit more. And coming on up, unhook that foot, lengthen your legs out. Oh, give them a good shake. And we're going to come around to have a seat on the knees and grab your strap. This is one of my favorite shoulder openers. It's so simple. You can do it while you're cooking with just a dish towel. That's what I try to remember to do as often as I can. So essentially you take the strap, just pick any length to start. You're going to take the arms up and then drop them back. And then come on back up and forward. So if that was super easy, you want to shorten it up. Main thing to be watching for here is that you don't pop your rib cage out while doing this. So it might be something that you can do at a certain length, but in order to do it, you have to kind of do this, arch the back. Okay, we don't want to be arching the back. We want to keep the ribs knitted down. So the core is tight, and we're doing this all in the shoulders and not in the spine at all. So give it a shot a couple times and just find the appropriate length for you. And then sync it with your breath. Today's going to be a lot of breath syncing, I get a feeling. So we inhale up and we exhale down. And we inhale up, exhale down. So as you're doing this, just pick your own breath pace and go on with it. As you're doing this, you might notice that you start to get easier, and then you need to just shorten your strap. Really keep the core strong, those ribs knitted down. And once you feel like you've got a good rhythm going, and you're like, all right, I can do this easy. Notice if you are kind of shimmying a little bit, I guess that's the best word for it. You can see me do it. Oftentimes with my left shoulder, I think it probably is the right side on your screen, but I have a shoulder impingement, so I oftentimes I'll bend my elbow a little bit, or I'll kind of tweak one arm higher than the other. So once you get in a good rhythm, you feel smooth, you start to tune in and notice those little things. And then see if right where your body wants to do that, you can kind of hunker down, slow down, and control it so that you don't end up doing that. Great pose or movement, whatever, to do in front of a mirror, because then you can really see everything. Whew. So I want you to end up here at the top. And you're going to turn the right, so if you put your thumbs out, so you kind of can move with your thumbs here, turn your right thumb down and pull that arm down. As you do this, let that pull the left arm behind your head and over past the head as much as you can. Now, again, you want to make sure that the ribs are knitted down so you're not arching the back. So the torso stays nice and firm, and we keep this right in the shoulders. We come back up center, turn the left thumb down. Oh, this is not my good side. Oh. Good, and you may need to take it a little bit longer, the strap that is, or a little shorter. And again, we just work with the breath. Inhale the arms up, and we exhale the arms down, or the downward movement. And the reason we exhale on that down is the exhale automatically strengthens or tightens the core. So it's going to help you to keep those ribs knitted down. One more on each side. And release. Whew, shake those arms out. Oh, stretch out your hands. Interlace the fingers the opposite way, stretch out the palms again. And release, shake it out. Roll the head around a couple times. Switch directions. For this next one, we are going to use a block. However, I'm going to show it to you first without a block for if you don't have one, but also because this is at the end of the day, when I crawl into bed, a lot of times I'll do this pose because I've forgotten about it all day and I get into bed and I'm like, oh man, my neck and shoulders are just killing me. So I'll show it to you two ways. On the floor or on the bed is a much more gentle variation. With the block is going to be a lot more total body core aspect, like what we've just been doing. So if you've got a block, you're going to do this first one with me anyways. And if you don't have a block, you're going to do both rounds like this as well. So you just come to lie down. I like to have my feet flat on the floor here and take note of where your chin is in relationship to the ceiling, to your knees, to your thighs. Oftentimes we find our chins lifting up towards the ceiling more than they really ideally should be. So you want to tuck it down so that you feel like you're really flat on the back of the head and the chin is slightly tucked. And then it's as if somebody has pushed your chin straight down through, like they were trying to push your chin through your jaw and into the floor right at the base of your skull. So you want to lead with your chin as you pull your head back, pushing it into the floor. Try to relax your shoulders. I like to have my palms, my hands next to me, palms turned up. And you're just holding for like 5, 10, 15 seconds. And then release. Take a couple of deep breaths. We can do 3 rounds of this. And then again, lead with your chin. Pull back, pressing the base of the skull towards the mat. Shoulders relax. So this is actually strengthening the muscles in the back of the neck and trying to turn off the muscles, the scalenes in the front of the neck, which are way overworked. A lot of our neck and shoulder pain actually comes because our chest and front of the throat is too tight. Go ahead and relax. Take a couple breaths. And the muscles in the upper back and the back of the neck are overstretched. So we want to actually start strengthening the muscles in the back body and opening up the muscles in the front body. Go ahead one last time. Tuck that chin, pull back through the jaw into the base of the skull towards the floor, pushing your head into the floor, like you're trying to push it right through the floor. and release. Hang out for a second and enjoy that. One of the absolute best things you can do right before you fall asleep. Sometimes you'll even get some nice little adjustments right up in the occiput. Since we just released that, we'll skip what I was going to do, which was some core. Then roll to one side and roll up. We'll come back to seated, where we just were. And grab your block. Unless you don't have a block, in which case you can use a book. Any block size object that's hard, essentially, you can use. Or back on the floor. So you hold the block between your hands so that your fingers are pointing, like if it was lying on the floor, they'd be pointing down towards the floor. And then you're going to take the block right to the back of your head. Wrap your fingers around the edge of it. Again, we want to make sure that we are not doing this in the back. We're doing this in the muscles of the upper back and neck. So my elbows are going to point forward. My shoulders are going to scoop down. So really think shoulder blades moving down and almost scooping forward under your heart. And then my eyes are straight forward. So again, make sure you're not tipping the chin up. Chin is level to the floor. And I'm just going to hold that block firm and do the same exact thing we just did, which is pull my head back into the block. But now I can work a little bit harder because I can use the upper body to push forward so that they're meeting each other. At the same time, I'm working my core muscles by knitting those ribs down and hugging my elbows in towards each other. So I'm also engaging my serratus anterior around the side of the rib cage. So elbows squeeze, shoulders down, head back, push forward on the head of the block. And then relax. Relax the arms and just sit up tall for a second. Usually it kind of feels like your head is a helium balloon and it just slowly lengthens up. I just got a nice adjustment. I wish I didn't have to like work. I could just do these exercises all day. I feel like if I actually did everything my body wants, I'd be here all day. All right, block back to the back of the head, elbows forward, shoulders down, scoop those shoulder blades under the heart, engage the abdominals, and then push your head back and hold the block firm, pulling slightly forward. Keep breathing as you do this. Notice if your jaw is tense, your forehead, your tongue, relax those. Jaw doesn't need to help this pose. And if you're unsure of how to get it to soften, just start talking, because there's no way that I can stop breathing or clench my jaw when I'm sitting here talking to you guys. So if you're struggling with that tension, make some faces, talk to yourself. Great one is always lion's breath. You stick out your tongue and an exhale. And release. And again, the head is like a helium balloon here. It's so nice. One last time. Hands are on the back side of the head. Shoulders down, elbows forward, head back, ribs in. Engage everything except the forehead, tongue, jaw. And release. Nice. All right. Let's take a second after all that beautiful neck and shoulder work and take a little mini Shavasana. And then we'll do some side body stretching. It's so nice when you do that kind of work to just give yourself a second to realign, both seated and surrendered on the floor. And it's normal if things almost cramp, especially if you haven't done this in a while, as everything kind of is like, whoa, what's going on? You might get some really mild cramping through the neck, shoulders. All right, we're gonna roll onto your right side. Prop yourself up on your elbow. Lengthen out nice and long. Flex your feet so you're really strong and engaged. Push the floor away from you. So a lot of times we kind of hang here, but I want to actually engage today to get the serratus anterior along the side ribs here to engage. Because that really helps us with our posture and our breathing, and it takes a lot of stress out of the neck and shoulders. And then you're gonna externally rotate that right arm, put the palm flat down, straighten up. And now we can sink into it a little bit more so that we're actually stretching from that right hip all the way up into essentially the top of the shoulder here. So you want to make sure that you're nice and long so your butt's not piking back. In fact, there's this sense of almost pressing your hips forwards. And bend your right elbow a little bit, bend both knees, and sit yourself up. Top leg, left leg is gonna step down onto the floor. Right leg is gonna lengthen out again along the mat. And then you're gonna lift yourself up. Put your left hand on your left knee, sink the hips down, and then push the left knee open and open your chest. So just a little bit of a deeper stretch through that right hip. You're barely off the ground, most likely. And release yourself down. Oh. Spin around, left elbow. Line everything up. Flex the feet and engage that left shoulder. So you're really pushing away from the floor. So you feel the muscles along that upper rib cage, kind of like where the bra strap is on the side body. You feel that area engaging. Shoulder blade pulls down from the ear. And externally rotate the left hand, push into that left hand, push all the way up and then sink down into the left shoulder. So you really spread open, fan open those left rib cage or left ribs of the rib cage. Make sure the hips are pushing forward slightly. And bending the left elbow, bend the knees, re-straighten that arm, bring it in a little bit. Take the top right leg, fold it in front, lengthen that left leg out, flex the foot, lift up, push into the right knee, and let the hips hang. So this should get nice and deep into the right above the glutes. That's also a pretty good core exercise. And lower down. Roll over onto your belly. And let's do a little sphinx. So chest is nice and open, collarbones are wide. Hips are heavy, legs are heavy. And you're actively pressing into the forearms and widening the collarbones, trying to gently drag, I'm gonna call that, the ribs forwards. So think about squeezing your shoulder blades together, widening your collarbones, and then think elbows towards the hips, hips towards the elbows, but you can't use your legs. All right, drop down, one hand on top of the other, forehead on top of the hands. Take a moment to rest here before we finish up with some nasty hips today. So you get back into child's pose. Start off with the knees together first for child's pose. Pull the torso up, widen the knees for wide knee child's pose. Drop down, give it a wiggle as you come into the pose. All right, so if you've got a wall, I'm gonna say the next two poses at the wall. If you don't have a wall, this first pose, you're not gonna need a wall for, you could just do it on the floor without the wall. The second pose, you'll need something kind of sort of sturdy to use. So like a chair pushed up against something or a table. It's something that you'll be able to stick a leg up essentially. Okay. All right. So this pose is exactly the same whether you've got your feet against a wall or no feet against the wall. I like my feet against the wall just because it kind of gives me a little something to push against. It's called frog pose. You're going to externally rotate so that your arches are, they don't have to be flat on the floor because that might not be good for your knees, but kind of that way. And then walk the knees wider. So feet are flat on the floor or they're just hanging out in space. From here, you can stay on your hands or you can come onto your forearms. And then you're going to push your hips back towards the wall, straight back behind you. So we're not rounding the butt down. If anything, we're actually tipping the butt up, putting a little arch into the low back, pushing backwards. Ooh. Pull the hips forward, bring the toes in, and this is a super wide knee child's pose. Just gently press back as far as is comfortable for your body. And then walk the knees in slowly. Okay, so this is where you're definitely going to need something to post your leg up against. You might also need a little extra padding, which is what I'm going to grab. And you're going to put that padding right up against the wall or whatever object is you're using as a wall. This is hands down the best front hip, front thigh stretch out there. You're going to take your left leg, get it right up against the wall or whatever object you're using, press the knee down into the mat or the additional support you've got. First step, and this might be as far as you go. Hips are square, and I just slide that right knee forward, and I press my pelvis towards the floor. Step one, you might stay here. If it feels like you want to go deeper, you're going to walk your hands over to the left, swing that right foot in under the right knee. And then again, square off the hips, square off the shoulders. And now I'm starting to pull my hips again away from the wall and towards the floor. Whew. This is one of those poses that I just really miss teaching in person because it's like the whole class unites in their discomfort. I don't think I've ever met anybody who comes into this pose and is like, oh yeah, this is easy. Even the most flexible people can find a really intense stretch here. If you were to do this every single day, you're going to feel a stretch in a different place every single day as your body opens up. So for me right now, I'm super tight. So I'm feeling it actually mostly down near my knee. If I was doing this every day and I was really open, I would be feeling this up in my low back, kind of in the back side of the pelvis, like in the, meaning the back side as in the inside of the pelvis, along the back of the pelvis wall, pelvic wall. You really want to get crazy here. If you turn to look over your right shoulder, that adds a whole other element of ouch. Now to come out of this pose, you back out the same way you come in. So you're gonna lean over to the left, you slide that right leg back, and then you bring the left knee forward. Whew. Take a second to just breathe. And then the other side. So bring the right leg right up against the wall, knee right into the corner. Start off just by sliding the left knee forward, pushing the right hip down towards the floor. So there's a sensation of actually driving the right knee further into the wall and the right hip down. You can actually get a really beautiful stretch actively here if you push the knee into the wall. If it feels like you want to go deeper, you lean over to the right, sweeping that left foot and under the left knee. Squaring the hips again, square the shoulders, and then pull the hips away from the wall. And you might have the same experience as me where this is a stretch in a completely different place. Like not even the same body kind of sensation. Notice if you're holding tension any place. You don't need to be. Take your jaw, your forehead, your neck, your tongue. Try to relax your butt cheeks. Now leaning over to the right, slide that left foot back, right knee forward. Have a seat on the heels for a second. Let's actually stretch out our feet as well. So you're just gonna rock up onto your feet, spread your toes nice and wide. Squeeze the ankles together and then bend those feet and sit back. So because this is quite uncomfortable, there's a tendency to want to tip forward to get away from it. See if you can really lean into the discomfort, breathe into it. Only going to be here about a minute. About 10 more seconds. Release the feet. Stretch out the tops of the feet, lean back, pick the knees up. All right. I feel like it's been a very long time since we've done an actual pigeon pose. Done lots of variations. So let's do an actual pigeon. So right leg forward, left leg back. Notice if your body has a desire to lean over to the right. Try to get yourself nice and square, get your weight right centered between the two hands. And then see if you could actually drag your hips and that back leg straight back an inch or two. Whew. Lower down. But as you lower down, make sure you stay really active so you don't collapse into this. You continue to gently pull your right hip back, lengthening your pubic bone back towards your left toes. And then roll off to the right, switch sides. Left leg forward, right leg back. Start off upright. Really square off your weight. So you're nice and centered. And then try to drag your hips back while still keeping your weight centered between the right and left side. That left hip is pulling back actively. And then as you fold down, you keep pulling the left hip back and you start to think about lengthening your pubic bone towards your right toes. Rolling over to the left. Spin yourself around for Shavasana. Oh. Take the legs out as you get settled. Try to flatten your shoulder blades down on the mat. Tuck your chin so that the back of the neck is nice and long. Take a couple long exhales. Slowly bringing movement into your body. Rolling over onto one side. And then pressing yourself up. Coming back to seated. Coming back to a nice intentional breath. Finding those spots that you highlighted at the beginning of class. Taking these last few intentional breaths into them. Your hands together at your heart. Thank you guys so much for being here with me tonight. Namaste.